This is Power 98.7. And now you're listening to Power Talk with Mbuyiseni and Ndlozi. 9 a.m. to midday. Taking your calls on 0861 987 000.
Welcome back, Bantwana Benkosi. You won't believe it who just walked into the studio. Early birds of Maskandi music. The king himself. Awema. Tandeni is here, so we're going to pick up the conversation at 1100 hours with him. But before that, I see an interesting headline here around the sentencing proceedings and the judge indicating that there's nothing redeeming and deserving of a lesser sentence than the harshest I can impose. I don't know why Umaga Jocelyn, now that she has indicated to be off drugs and all of that, why not help to locate Jocelyn? That's all we're looking for at this stage. I'm going to welcome the acting head of Infrastructure South Africa, Mbuyiseni Masemola, to look into that symposium that took place in Cape Town with the President Cyril Ramaphosa and some of the ministers there, certainly public works seemingly being at the center to try and understand the infrastructure development plans of our country and initiative. Welcome to Power Talk, Mbuyiseni, and thanks very much for making time and joining us.
Thank you very much, Mbuyiseni. Thank you for inviting us to your show.
Thank you. So just for the benefit of all of us, can you just take us through the symposium, its purpose and objectives?
Yes, and before we get to that, let's maybe also talk about Infrastructure South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been established since 2020 as a central agency for accelerating high-value, high-impact infrastructure projects in the country. So we do that by overseeing the preparation and packaging of these projects. We term them as strategic integrated projects.
Yeah.
We appraise these projects. We work with project sponsors or project owners to raise funding for these projects, and where relevant, we also assist with the technical we provide technical expertise in the implementation of those projects. Now, the SIDSSA, the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium of South Africa, is an annual event which we inaugurated again in 2020. It is headlined by the President because he takes, charge of the infrastructure mandate in government, and we use this platform to do several things. One of them is to showcase the investment handbook or the projects that are already investment ready. These are projects that minimum value is 1 billion rand, so they're massive projects that are investment ready. That these projects that are ready for crowding in private sector financing. So we showcase those projects. We also take account of where we are insofar as the overall project pipeline is. So we must report back to our stakeholders, from policy makers to infrastructure project owners to domestic and international financing institutions and any other critical stakeholder. So we take account of what has been done over the past year, some of the promises that we made last year, and where we are in relation to that. We also showcase what we call project preparation projects. So these are projects that would have gone through that would have been submitted by any project owner. It can be a municipality, it can be a province, it can be a national government department, or it can be a state-owned entity or even a private sector company. They submit these projects, we evaluate them, and we decide which of these projects we're going to deploy our own funding for project development. So we use this symposium to then announce those projects that have been successful. And just to contextualize, so last year when we opened the bid window for submission of projects that require project preparation support, we received over 291 applications. And essentially, yesterday, we announced, a day before yesterday on Tuesday, only 7 projects we announced as successful projects that will be receiving project preparation support from Infrastructure South Africa. So we used the symposium to do exactly that. And then lastly, is that last year we inaugurated what we call a construction book. So this is a repository, the central repository of projects, or construction projects that will be going out to tender to market. What it does is it helps construction companies, it helps suppliers in the construction industry to gear up, to anticipate what's coming up, what's the order book of government looking like, and to be able to, organize themselves to take advantage of these opportunities. Now, last year there were 153 projects in the construction book, and they were worth about 154 billion rand. Now, this year, the construction book, we are profiling even more projects, just over 200 of these, and the total value of those projects is 268 billion rand. So we're using the symposium to indeed, as I said, to just showcase just the opportunities in the construction space, the infrastructure investment project pipeline, and also the future pipeline in terms of those projects that we are going to be preparing, packaging, raising funding for, working with those project owners. So that's basically what the symposium is all about.
I see. The infrastructure problems of South Africa at the center, I don't know if you're able to say, because most of our experience of infrastructure, in this case, I'm thinking about roads, public transport infrastructure. I'm thinking about the state of bridges, over important rivers that are used frequently by children to go to school and all. When we speak infrastructure, we are speaking about, we think of those that are tangible, as it were. Can you name, since 2020, successful infrastructure projects by the South African government? I mean here completed, big infrastructure projects.
Okay, let me start with some of the what we will term social infrastructure projects, and you make an important point about building of bridges over rivers and streams, especially those that are used by learners and just community members to access educational institutions, to access places of work, etc. There is a program called Mbuyiseni, Rural Bridges Program. Now, this is one of the projects that was prepared and packaged by Infrastructure South Africa to support the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure nationally. We prepared a business case to the National Treasury, and we were able to unlock 1.8 billion rand of funding towards the construction of these Mbuyiseni rural bridges across 6 provinces in the country. The success of this project, for example, is that there has been, in the past 2 years, there's been 54 of such bridges constructed already. The plan, of course, by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, as well as the provincial departments of transport, is to build around about 96 of these projects on an annual basis. And so that's the program, and it's a rolling program. So it is envisaged that there should be, at least in the next 10 years, just over 1,000 of these projects being built across the country. When it comes to like really mega infrastructure projects that Infrastructure South Africa oversees, and also let me just mention that we also do work with the private sector in terms of private sector-led infrastructure projects. But coming back to the government ones, if you think about the Hazelmere wall raising project in KwaZulu-Natal that has been completed, there is Musina Ring Road, the Sandra projects up in Limpopo that has been completed. There are others that has been completed, and I'll get to them just now. Others are also in construction, and these are massive infrastructure projects. One of them is the Potsdam wastewater treatment plant in Cape Town, under the city of Cape Town. It's part of the portfolio of projects that we are supporting. It's currently under construction. It started 2 years ago. It will be completed in April of 2027. It's a 5.3 billion rand investment in the upgrade.
But those are the ones that are coming, isn't it? Not the ones that have been completed. In as far as my question was concerned, I want to maybe with respect interrogate the manner in which the tender system has actually been destructive to infrastructure development in South Africa, and ask you, I mean, particularly in collaborative projects with municipalities and certainly government itself, national government itself, that things go out to tender, and at the center of this paralysis is what are called mafias, infrastructure development mafia groups that take huge amounts of bribery and all of that. In terms of this planning into the future, what are the mitigating factors in relation to that?
So, that's an important question, and I think it has been addressed quite emphatically by the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, as well as the Minister of Police, Minister Mbuyiseni. It's very clear that projects get to be hamstrung by these construction mafias, or the so-called business forums. And one of the things that is at the heart of rearranging that or reconstructing that or dealing with that much more boldly and effectively is around embedding what we call a social facilitation framework. So communities cannot wake up and see that a road is being constructed, a bridge is being constructed, without having been consulted about the particular construction of the infrastructure asset, and also ensuring that legitimate businesses, small businesses, in those areas are subcontracted and are able to access those economic opportunities through the building of these projects.
But isn't that the problem, Mamietsi? Because this constant breaking down of infrastructure, that has been the model over the last 30 years. And we're not seeing, despite huge amounts of money that get to be spent, both in the division of revenue, but in general as well, collaborative with private sector, the breaking constant down of minute details instead of organizing an infrastructure emergency in a way that it's about the objective of getting the infrastructure proper, then everyone else that is doing business can flourish. This room you are making about small tender, it just makes people just want to eat, and mostly, elites. And then there's no infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here to talk on behalf of the people that drive the actual construction of these projects, etc. What we know for sure is that we have problems in poorly maintained infrastructure in the country. We've got issues of mismanagement in some cases and so on. And within the constraints of the fiscus, there's just there's a need to galvanize stakeholders around the issues of infrastructure and their importance, and the need to accelerate and fast track the implementation of these projects. All I'm saying is that the projects that we oversee from an infrastructure South Africa perspective, these massive infrastructure investments. In very few cases, there will be, disruption of these projects because the social facilitation framework is embedded in the manner in which these projects are prepared, are packaged, and in the manner in which the project owners interact with critical stakeholders where these infrastructure assets are going to be built.
I mean, now you're projecting R1 trillion over the next 3 years. What is the percentage of infrastructure in the current budget that was announced? I'm just trying to get a sense of how this R1 trillion was arrived at.
So remember that government budgets in 3-year cycles, what we call the medium-term expenditure framework. Mm-hmm. And so over a period of time, so if you look at in the 2021, 22 to 2022, 23 MTAF, over just under 700 billion was budgeted for infrastructure projects in the country. So that amount has now increased to just over 1 trillion rand in the 2025 to the 2027-28 3-year medium-term expenditure framework.
So let me ask this then.
So it has been growing over a period of time. It's not the money that just miraculously appeared. That's what I'm saying. It's the projection and the trend that has been going up since 2020-2021 financial years. Agreed.
So, I mean, what I want to know is, when you look out there, is there a project that matches this type of spending? I mean, even since 2020, since the setup, but even before, since 2019, the money is there. Isn't the problem precisely the leakages caused by the tender system?
It's not even just the tender system necessarily. Okay, it is a contribution, but it's the actual skills to prepare and package these projects. So you simply cannot wake up and put together terms of reference and go out to market without sufficiently interrogating what is this asset that we are building, and having to doing proper financial modeling around those projects. And only then, when it is sufficiently scoped and planned for, you are able to say that if I'm building this bridge and this is what it needs to do, you have a good sense of what is the pricing for that project. And so you know that when you go out to market, if there are bids that go over that particular pricing that you know as a project owner, that it is out of range, so to speak. And so our view, not our view, it's actually our mandate to work with the project sponsors and owners to ensure that there is sufficient planning and packaging of these projects before you even go out to market. Then what you also need is specialized skills in the SCM space.
What is SEM?
Supply chain management.
Hi, my mates. Okay, is there a speed train in this infrastructure plan? Because we are looking for a speed train from Musina at least to Durban.
It's just, yes, that's interesting because I happen to have been sitting next to the Premier of Gauteng at the symposium, and he was saying that, we will be working very, very closely with the Gauteng government insofar as high-speed passenger trains are concerned. And I think it is the ambition of the province of Gauteng provincial government, and so we will be working with them on securing.
So there is a speed train.
Preparation. Excuse me?
There is a speed train. Is the answer yes?
No, it doesn't exist, but there are plans to do so.
Yeah, I'm saying, is there a speed train project?
Yes, there are, but not in our books at the moment. They are still in conceptual stage in terms of. So
no plan to build a bullet train in the next 3 years. The president will be done in the next 3 years, and he promised a speed train in 2018.
We are with you. Remember, Mbuyiseni, let me bring you back to this. So infrastructure.
You guys met in Cape Town and did not speak about the first promise of 2018, a speed or bullet train.
I'm saying to you, so that let's understand each other. Firstly, Infrastructure South Africa is not a project owner. We don't conceive of projects. But I'm saying that the Gauteng provincial government has got plans around or at least they have conceptualized projects around high-speed passenger trains in the country, from the province to Messina, from the province to Durban, etc. Okay. We must work with them. We will be working with them to actualize that. And what do? We must deploy funding for preparing the business case for such a project, and that takes considerable time. And we must understand that it's not going to be an overnight matter. So I can sit here and say to you, Mbuyiseni, I can promise you now that the train will start rolling and will be there next year. No,
I understand.
Yes.
But thanks very much for your time. I have to take the headlines now. Acting Head of Infrastructure South Africa. Why are you acting, Mama Masemola?
Can I get my minister to answer that question?
I'll ask them. I'll ask them. Thank you very much, and all the best. That's the Acting Head of Infrastructure South Africa, Mama Semula. So we're going to take the headlines. It's 10:30 here on Power Talk with Nyakalote.